All right, you're live.
Cool. All right. Hey guys, Richard from rLoop here, back again to answer some more of your questions. Oh, by the way, check us out on Twitter at rLoopTeam. All right, so if you have comments, if you have questions and you want a really detailed, in-depth answer, feel free to post them over on the Reddit AMA, and I and other team members can go ahead and type them up for you. If you want questions for me to answer right now, just go ahead and put them in the Twitch chat, and I'll answer them. So, all right. In the meantime, let me see if we have new questions on Reddit. Hey guys. All right. So we have a Reddit question that's asking what speeds are we hoping to achieve. So in the full-scale Hyperloop, in theory, it should be able to reach somewhere around 700 or 800 miles an hour. And in our half-scale test pod that we're making for the competition, we're hoping to achieve about 300 miles an hour. Let's see. Okay, so we got a question that says, what is rLoop? For someone who just got here. So rLoop is a nonprofit organization that started out essentially as a comment thread on Reddit. And to tell the whole story, I have to go back to Elon Musk and his Hyperloop idea. So the idea is to have a pod inside a vacuum tube that goes crazy fast, like 800 miles an hour. In theory, you could connect LA and San Francisco in like half an hour, for example. In order to make this idea a reality, Elon Musk hosted a Hyperloop pod design competition, and teams from all over the world joined in. So rLoop is basically a team that formed over the internet, and so far we've made it to the final round of the competition and have produced an award-winning design. Right now we're raising money so we can manufacture our pod and hopefully win the competition in August. All right. Team Edward or Team Jacob? I'm gonna have to go with Team Neither. Yeah, sorry. Okay, another question is, can they put Solar City solar panels on all of the Hyperloop tracks? Yeah, sure. In fact, that's one of the advantages of a Hyperloop track is that, in theory, you have all that real estate above the track that you can put solar panels on. So, yeah. Do you have many women working on rLoop with you? Yeah, we do. We actually have a few. Yeah, so if there's any women out there and you want to join the team, go to rloop.org and we'd be more than happy to have you on the team. Let's see. Okay. Oh, we have a question. What do you think are the odds of winning? I think we have a good odds of winning, honestly. We have gone further than any other non-student team. Oh, cool. We got a donation.
Friend Computer appreciates your contribution to science. What was once yours is now ours. You're welcome.
Can we get Richard to wear Sharkey while answering questions on theoretical physics?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I'm sounds good to me. If we get more donations, bring in the money, and I will gladly wear Sharkey while answering questions on theoretical physics. Let's see. Shark is in the next room, so we'll see. Maybe someone can bring it in. In the meantime, just to quickly go back to the question about our odds of winning, like I said, we've come farther than any other non-student team. So I think we have tremendous momentum, and we've really accomplished a lot as a team. We've created a great design, an award-winning design, but we do have steep competition. I mean, we're going against the MIT grad students among a handful of other university teams. So it'll be intense. It'll be a great competition. And let me just say, if we win, that would be the ultimate underdog story. I mean, this started out with a bunch of strangers with computers and a dream. I mean, we came together, none of us knew each other. We didn't have the kind of resources, organization, expertise that universities have. We just came together over the internet and we created this thing, and hundreds of people have jumped on board, and the online community has been so supportive of us. And we really hope to show the world just how powerful of a force the internet can be. So far, we've been successful to that end. I'm already very proud of the team and how far we've come. And I think there's a good chance that we might go all the way and win the competition. So, all right. Let's see. Oh, do we have a Sharky costume? All right. Well, okay. So, yeah. So it says. Okay. Someone else asked. It's not a true vacuum, so how much air resistance will be in there? That I don't know off the top of my head. I know during the competition, if I remember correctly, and someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, we are going to be able to choose the air pressure we want, I think. And there's a few different options of an air vacuum. Could be wrong on that. That might have changed. Yeah, we'll see. Oh yeah, so the plans on maintaining such a large vacuum environment safely, as far as safety is concerned, that's mostly going to depend on the structural integrity of the pod itself. I mean, a depressurization event where, you know, some hole would tear in the pod would be disastrous. As far as the vacuum environment itself, the main thing with that is going to be more of an engineering problem of maintaining such a large near vacuum. Because if you think in terms of scaling laws, it just doesn't seem too practical to have too large of a vacuum. That said, with enough vacuum pumps and maintenance and a clever design, it should be feasible. So it's really just a matter of, I guess, how near the vacuum you want to get and what kind of power requirements you want or you need. Let's see. Would you need to align the weight of the rider with each pod? I don't believe so. We are able to, the pod is able to maintain its stability by gimbaling the hover engines, but I'm not entirely sure about that either. So maybe someone from our engineering team can comment on that. Let's see. Oh, if you could have a billboard anywhere, where would it be and what would it say? That's an interesting question. I've never actually thought about commissioning a billboard. I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. So let's see. Okay, another question is, other than LA and San Francisco, which two cities would you love to see your pod traveling between in the future? Well, for me, LA and San Francisco are the two big ones. I'm actually from NorCal, from the Sacramento area, and now I'm going to school in Santa Barbara. So those are like, that's where my mind is focused on in terms of the cities that I'm familiar with. But in theory, you would want to connect cities where it's a hassle to drive from one to the other, but at the same time, it's kind of a hassle to fly too. It's like they're just too far to drive and too close to fly. That's really the kind of cities that are ideal for Hyperloop, because it combines the speed of an airplane with sort of the convenience of a train. If you could be anywhere right now, where would you want to be and why? You know, honestly, I'd want to be right here. This is very cool. I had a lot of fun. This morning I woke up, hopped on a plane, came to Seattle, walked in. Didn't really know what to expect, but it's been great. I've been having a lot of fun. It's phenomenal to see the show that the guys are putting on, and yeah, so I'm perfectly content being right here. Let's see. Would this pod travel be possible in an underwater way? Yeah, that was mentioned earlier. So underwater tunnels can be used with the Hyperloop. Yeah, the only thing is, in terms of the change of height, so when you go from sea level down, if that's too steep, then there could be unwanted g-forces acting on the pod. So you want to have, that might make the tunnel have to be longer, maybe have like a parabolic shape to mitigate that, which could add to the costs. So, but it should be feasible. I don't see why not. Oh yeah, someone suggested Houston to Dallas as two cities that can be connected. So yeah, that would be a good one. How many peas can you fit in the pod? A lot. You can fit a lot of peas in this pod. Yeah. All right, let's see. Come on, throw some more questions at me. Let me refresh the Reddit page, see if we got anything new there. Would you like fries with that? I always like fries. Yeah. Oh, great. Thanks, Lucy. Too bad. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're having a good time. I am too. Let's see. Beer or wine? Depends on the mood. You know, I'm more of a beer guy for the most part. I think, and rLoop as a team is more of a beer team as well. We have, we're known for celebrating with beer. Oh yeah, New York to DC would be another good connection for the Hyperloop. Okay, so how many passengers can the pod hold? So right now, our half-scale pod for the competition is designed to hold one crash test dummy, and that's mainly so that it can serve as sort of a platform to test the underlying technology and to see whether or not the Hyperloop concept is feasible. Now, in the future, if it does work out, then there is some flexibility in terms of how many seats should go in the pod. And yeah, so we are currently working on a full-scale Hyperloop pod, and I'm not sure at the moment how many seats are on that. So if anyone wants to comment in there, that'd be cool. Let's see, Jimmy John's or Subway? I have to go with Subway, only because I'm just used to Subway, but nothing against Jimmy John's. What would the price of travel in these be comparable to? So that's actually an interesting question, and that's something that could make or break the technology. Right now, we just don't know, because we don't know things like what are the operating costs going to be, what sort of overhead do you have, what are the maintenance costs going to be like, what is going to be the throughput in terms of how many passengers per hour can you have, and that sort of thing. So right now we're really in the phase in terms of the Hyperloop technology. We're in the phase of proving that the concept itself is feasible, and then sort of the economic questions like how much will it cost can be analyzed after the engineering data has been figured out. So let's see. Would the Hyperloop be a straight shot, or would there be stops? Would you need different loops for different destinations? Yeah, so I imagine it would be. I mean, there's a number of possible ways you could do it, but what I'm imagining is you could have different stations in cities and then have Hyperloop pods connecting them. So let's say you want to go from one city to another one, maybe like really far away, and you could like take a Hyperloop from one city to the next one, and then from that city to the final city, for instance. But there's a number of possibilities. Yeah. Would sharper turns be possible if the inside compartment was capable of rotating so the G-force was into the seat all the time? Yeah, it could be. And another thing you could do is if you could actually sort of slope the track along the curve, sort of like they do on like NASCAR tracks, to get, and it sort of rotates. Yeah, that could be, and that's actually a pretty good idea, I think, because obviously it's much easier to handle G-forces that are going into the seat than it is to the side. Yeah. So, would you like to see a Hyperloop interstate system, and how do you think that will change the US and possibly Europe and other regions? Yeah, I think that would be really cool. And I think it would change the US and other regions in the sense that the target that it would hit most is long distance commutes and travel between cities that where they're too far to comfortably drive, but kind of too short to really conveniently fly. So yeah, if you had a network of those, sort of like an interstate system of Hyperloops, yeah, that could really speed up a lot of travel between cities. Oh yeah, check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/rLoopTeam. Cool. Oh, another question is, would the pods and tubes be easily accommodate the pressure changes to avoid passengers getting decompression sickness from transitioning to underwater/on-ground travel? So in a tunnel underwater, you would actually have the tunnel be pressurized to about 1 atmosphere. And the way you can imagine it is that even though the pressure is high underground and underwater, you could have the structural part of the tunnel balancing those pressures. And on the inside, you can have essentially 1 atmosphere of air, a little bit greater because it would be under, and so the air coming in would pressurize a little bit. But yeah, and plus the pod itself would be pressurized, and the tube would be a vacuum tube. So yeah, pressurization, pressure changes, and decompression sickness wouldn't be an issue. Unless the pod broke, in which case decompression sickness would be a huge issue. So hopefully that won't happen. Yeah. Okay, so how does a pod rotate by 180 degrees so it can drive back once it got to its destination? So what we're imagining is, imagine these two parallel tubes, one going one way and the other going the other way. And at the end, you can sort of have this roundabout type of a thing. Sort of like in the P in our logo, you can have, so the pod comes in, goes around, people get on, and then it goes back out. So, yeah. So yeah, another question is, how would Hyperloop travel compare in price, compare in terms of price to flying? And again, the answer is we don't really know yet until we know more parameters in terms of the actual engineering and how feasible it is. Then we can look into the economics and see, okay, how much can it cost and how much throughput can we get. Ideally, the Hyperloop would have to be cheaper than flying in order to really be feasible, or at least comparable enough and more convenient that people would choose it over flying. If the Hyperloop is more expensive than flying and less convenient, no one's going to use it over flying. So that is sort of the upper bound on the costs and convenience limit of the Hyperloop. If you could have one of these abilities, teleportation or flight, which would you choose? I think I would go with flight. Flight's a lot more fun. I'm actually getting skydive training this year, so soon I will have the ability of flight. But teleportation would be cool too, but then you have the existential question of, is the new you still you? And I don't know if I could handle that, so I would rather just fly around and be happy. Alright, what kind of safety concerns do you think Hyperloop faces, and can you speak to any of them? Well, I think the number one safety concern is a depressurization event. If the pod were to get a hole in it, for instance. Yeah, I mean, because that would be bad. You wouldn't want to be exposed to a vacuum all of a sudden. You would painfully decompress. You would, like, explode, and we don't want passengers to explode. So, but that said, there are technologies where you have a pressurized environment that's not problematic. For instance, airplanes. They operate in a low pressure environment, and yet they have a contained pressure on the inside of about an atmosphere, slightly less. And those seem to do just fine, and also those are on a larger scale than the Hyperloop pod. So So it should be feasible to make a pod that doesn't explosively decompress, hopefully. Are you considering any other applications such as freight instead of just passengers? Well, really the Hyperloop is optimized towards passengers because passengers tend to be more impatient than freight. In other words, if you're sending a package, it doesn't really matter if it gets there in a day or in 12 hours, right? Unless it's a very time-sensitive thing, in which case it would. But really, it's people who don't want to wait around. I mean, for a person, there's a big difference between half an hour and 4 hours. Not so much for a package. The great debate question: Star Wars or Star Trek?
I just want to remind everybody, we're setting up for Paranoia as quickly as we possibly can. It's a lot to set up. We're doing everything we can to get in there, and I'm about to put my shark costume on. You're doing a great job. Bye.
Oh, thanks. All right. Cool. So, oh yeah, the great debate question, Star Wars or Star Trek? I'm going to say that I can respect both of them, and I can enjoy both of them, and in my mind, they're two separate things, and I don't have to make that comparison because they're just, I have them both on that equal level of respect and admiration. So yeah, what's my biggest fear? That's a good question. Probably I would say aneurysms, just because they come out of nowhere. But anyways, on a more fun subject, let's see, how did you guys get together with the Hyper RPG team for this event? Ooh, actually we'd have to ask Brent, because I don't actually know that off the top of my head. I was just informed of this a few days ago, so yeah. Let's see. Are you excited for Jennifer Hale? I actually don't know who that is. If you want to fill me in on that, then I could respond more. All right, let me refresh the Reddit page because I haven't checked that out in a while. Okay. We got a lot of comments on this, over 200 comments. That's cool. Nice. Okay, so would this be something, so would the rLoop run constantly like on a train schedule or just based on demand of the customers? So in theory, you would want the rLoop to run constantly like on a train schedule because once you have the thing built and you have the overhead costs and the maintenance costs, you want to put as much passengers through it as you can. So yeah, I would imagine that there would be sort of like a train schedule and it would run constantly, or at least that's what I would do. Because if it's just sitting around, then it's basically losing money. So yeah, it would run pretty much constantly. What are some more questions? Give me a fun one. Give me a really out there question. Oh yeah, by the way, let me just comment on Sharkey. So imagine how ridiculous it would be. We have the opportunity to confuse Elon Musk so hard. So he'll be at this event, he'll see all these teams, all these engineers, all these Hyperloop pods, and then just a Sharkey. Like, imagine that. Imagine Elon's mind just going, what? So anyways, I hope we hit our goal because that would be amazing, and I would love to see the look on Elon's face when he sees a Sharkey at the competition. So, what is your favorite dinosaur, and why is it the Ankylosaurus? Actually, unfortunately, my favorite dinosaur is the Apatosaurus. So, but I have some respect for the Ankylosaurus too. Okay, there are two types of people in the world: those who like Animaniacs and those who don't like Animaniacs. Well, I'm the kind of guy who likes South Park, so. If the moon was made of spare ribs, would you eat it? Not all of it, but I would try. Let's see. Oh, it's coming at me fast. All right. So, is there any chance that the testing and development of this technology could create a black hole that swallows the planet? Nope. We are not getting anywhere near the energy density required to do that. So don't worry. It's all good. Hopefully. Yeah, Elon. Yeah, he would. I hope Elon Musk would put Sharkey on Mars. Yeah, that'd be a great. Imagine if the first person on Mars was in a Sharkey costume. We should make that happen. Let's do it. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. If you discovered a planet made of bacon, what would you name it? You know what? I would probably just name it Bacon Planet, because that way I would know that's the one made of bacon. I mean, you ever see these planets? They have like, you know, like it's like G52A or something. And it's like I can't give it a name like that, because then if one day I'm like, okay, what was that planet made of bacon again? I'd have to like look up a table. So I would just call it Bacon Planet, and that way I would know which one has the bacon on it. So let's see, what else should Elon Musk drive innovation for? Well, I think he's got his hands full at the moment. I do like what he's doing with the Hyperloop competition, because he's sort of driving innovation without taking necessarily a super active role in it. I actually would like him to see a similar competition devoted towards Martian ISRU, in situ resource utilization challenges. For instance, if you're going to live on Mars, you have to have a machine that converts the CO2 atmosphere into usable oxygen, among other things like rocket fuel. You have to bring some hydrogen with you for that, that's okay. So Elon Musk should have a crowdsourced competition, sort of like his Hyperloop competition, but where the challenges are like, build a machine that can turn CO2 at 0.007 atmospheres into usable oxygen, and see like who can come up with like the lightweight, most efficient machine for that. Because at some point they're going to have to do that R&D, and they're going to have to develop the infrastructure required to live on Mars. So it seems like that's the kind of thing that you might want to outsource to the internet, especially given the results of the Hyperloop competition. Let's see. Okay, someone asked again about the space elevator, and sadly it's just not feasible. Again, it's like you would have to take the material properties of a carbon nanotube and scale them up to something more massive than the world has ever created, and that's just not feasible. So, no, space elevator is not gonna happen. Reusable rockets are the way to go. Let's see. Ooh, how about a space roller coaster? That would be cool. Yeah, I would, I have a lot of questions about that, though. Is it a roller coaster that goes up into space? Is it a roller coaster that's in space? Is it a roller coaster that launches you into space? All three of those things sound cool, so I'm interested in all of those. Yeah, all right, gonna check the Reddit thread again real quick. Keep sending in questions. Oh yeah, hey, donate. We want to get up to 15,000 so we can confuse Elon with the Sharkey costume at the final competition. Imagine, okay, so how cool would it be if rLoop actually won the competition as sort of this underdog team of people who just came together over the internet and had nothing to start out with, and just, it just rallied the internet support and showed the world what the internet can do and how powerful of a collaborative tool it can be. Imagine how awesome that would be. Now imagine that in a Sharkey costume. Even more awesome. So help us out, and greatly appreciated. All right. Let's see. Reusable rockets or mass driver? I'm gonna have to go with reusable rockets. Yeah. Sci-fi or fantasy? I like sci-fi only because it gets my imagination going a little more, because I think like, okay, where's the boundary in that Venn diagram of science fiction and potential science facts? Like, where's that Venn diagram intersect? That's always the fun part to think about. So, yeah. Ooh, Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones? I feel bad saying this, but I'm gonna have to go with Game of Thrones. I mean, it's just the production value and the story is just top notch. So, not that Lord of the Rings isn't, but yeah, to each their own. So, have you ever seen the color purple while wearing a Sharkey costume? Man, I have not, but you know what? I'll put it on my bucket list. Okay, another question is, do I play video games, and if so, what? Yeah, kind of. I sometimes play video games, and I look forward to really getting to video games in a few years once I graduate. Right now, I've sort of been trying to restrict my time spent in entertainment, only because I get easily addicted to very good video games. I did have a bit of a Skyrim phase a couple years ago, and of course, back in high school, it was all about Modern Warfare 2, so yeah. Oh, I'm now your sworn enemy? Okay, that's fine. Denoya, that's okay. Alright, let's see. Are you a fan of Kerbal Space Program? Yeah, I love the idea of the game. I haven't played it, I've been avoiding it because I know I'm gonna get addicted, but I love the idea of the game. It seems like a great intuitive way to learn orbital mechanics, and I'm fully supportive of it. A lot of my friends have played it. They've talked about how frustrating it is and how satisfying it is when they finally pull off the mission. So I think, yeah, it's great. Anything that popularizes space exploration and teaches people orbital mechanics, I mean, I have to love that. So, another person asking me how old I am. I'm 21. Let's see. Who is my favorite Ninja Turtle? Not gonna lie, I was never super into the Ninja Turtles. Sorry about that. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Oh yeah, so in terms of the rocket versus driver debate, I think rockets are just more feasible. Yeah, they're less efficient. Yeah, they're more realistic, but at the same time, they're cool. Imagine, I see Elon Musk's reusable rockets as sort of like, if you imagine yourself 300 years in the future, and then imagine what their steampunk would be like, I feel like it would be a lot like the Falcon 9.
Final question.
So. Alright, final question, guys. Give me something good. Alright. Let's see. Alright, it looks like the final question is going to be, let's see, we'll go with, what is your education history? So, I'm getting a bachelor's in mechanical engineering and a master's in material science, and I hope someday to do some cool technology stuff and make the world a better place. Okay, so, next up, we have Paranoia. Thanks again for listening, and I'll be back later. Okay.